Good Friday afternoon, and thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Right now, President Trump is making his way to Wisconsin for his first visit to the state since his re-election back in 2024. The president is traveling to Chippewa County, about 2 hours east of the Twin Cities. According to the White House, Trump's visit to the county is aimed at highlighting his support for farmers in the state of Wisconsin. Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden is joining the president during that visit, writing on X that he is, quote, proud to host the president and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Van Orden is also told our NBC affiliate WEAU that the event is focused on policy, not politics. WEAU reports Democratic and progressive groups are also planning protests tied to the visit, one near Custer Farms, where the roundtable is expected to take place, and another at the Chippewa Falls Regional Airport. Just in, Governor Walz is signing a $1.2 billion infrastructure bill. The bonding bill that state lawmakers agreed to at the end of the legislative session will support things like public safety, clean water, transportation, and housing.
We've worked on all kinds of issues. The bonding bill continues to come up. And in most of those years, we got it done. And when the years that we did get it done, we've made historic investments, over $8 billion in asset preservations, investments in Minnesota, from roads and bridges and water projects to important things like arenas and downtown areas. Those were done with that leadership to bring together a supermajority bipartisan to get that done.
Governor Walz was joined by St. Paul Mayor Kale Herr, who thanked legislators for, quote, recognizing St. Paul's unique role as Minnesota's capital city and investing in our future.
The bill the governor is signing today marks one of the biggest investments in St. Paul in recent years. These projects only happen when state, federal, and local governments work together, step up, and deliver for the people that we serve.
This afternoon, community leaders are coming together to discuss the future of George Floyd Square in Minneapolis. They say they want the city to stop construction until their concerns are addressed. This comes just 2 days after the Minneapolis City Council denied the city's pick to redevelop the square, Minnesota Agape Movement. Their plan was to turn the old gas station at 38th and Chicago into a 6-story building with a cafe and a museum. But several council members said it's not the plan the council or the community supported. Developing today, Israel striking southern Lebanon after the Hezbollah militant group rejected the latest ceasefire agreement between the two countries. NBC's Richard Engel reports from Israel.
Hopes that a ceasefire deal in Lebanon, brokered by the U.S., would lead to a wider peace agreement, specifically one between Washington and Tehran, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, lowering gas prices, are fading this morning when that Lebanon deal broke down as soon as it began. Hezbollah formally rejected the deal, which was signed between the Israeli government and the Lebanese government. Hezbollah called it a surrender agreement. According to the terms of the deal, Hezbollah was supposed to drop its weapons and leave southern Lebanon and move north specifically above the Litani River. Hezbollah said that it's happy to stop fighting as long as Israeli troops leave all of Lebanon, which is something that Israel says it will not do. So they were at an impasse from the start, and the peace deal never really gained any traction on the ground. Now, Israel is continuing its war. Iran says there will be no peace deal with the U.S. unless there's a peace deal in Lebanon. But President Trump is continuing to insist that diplomatic progress is being made. Richard Engel, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
The U.S. House has approved billions of dollars in new aid for Ukraine, a vote that defies President Trump and Republican leaders. 18 Republicans joined Democrats to pass the bill, 226 to 195. The package includes new military support for Ukraine and tougher sanctions on Russia's banking and energy sectors. It also includes 500% tariffs on all Russian goods imported to the U.S., and it bans Russian crude oil from being imported into the U.S. The measure now heads to the Senate. An update this afternoon, the ICE agent charged with shooting a Minneapolis man in January is fighting extradition to Minnesota. Investigators say 52-year-old Christian Castro shot through the door of a home, hitting Julio Sosa Solis in the leg. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty also added a charge for falsely reporting a crime after Castro said he was being attacked with a shovel and a broom. But city surveillance and evidence allegedly contradict that story. Castro was arrested in Texas last week after the charges were issued in Minnesota.
He was not a fugitive. He was still employed. He does live in the Rio Grande Valley, as I understand it. So he was here in the area pursuant to his job obligations.
Okay, so he works here, so he was going to work.
That's our understanding, yes.
Okay.
Castro's currently being held on a $200,000 bond. Just in, the Department of Homeland Security announcing its plans to potentially use the Prairie Correctional Facility in Appleton to house up to 1,600 immigrant detainees. The document published yesterday outlines the possible contract for the use of the facility for immigration and customs enforcement purposes. That prison was shut down in 2010, but the building has been maintained by its owner, Kare Civic. According to the proposal, Kare Civic would run and manage the prison, including providing guards, meals, medical care, and transportation services for 5 years. We reached out to Kare Civic. They have not yet responded. Appleton City Mayor Justin Koepp says he's not yet aware of any plans for the facility. New updates this afternoon in the murder and torture of Sam Nordquist. One of the 7 people charged in the case has taken a plea deal. 20-year-old Emily Motaika pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and kidnapping for her role in Nordquist's death. The 24-year-old Minnesota man was held captive and tortured for weeks inside a Hopewell, New York motel room before his body was found in a field in February 2025. Motaika faces a minimum of 15 years to life. Sam's sister, Kayla, says she hopes the others will face harsher sentences.
I just really miss my brother. And I feel like the world's missing out on him because people decided to be evil.
6 others are still facing charges. The alleged ringleader, Sam's former partner, is scheduled for trial August 31st. Ontario County's district attorney says no plea deal will be offered in that case. Sam's family says they'll be in that courtroom. Right now, a man is facing 30 years in prison after pleading guilty for his role in a mass shooting at Boom Island Park last summer. Ian Russell has the latest.
Just over a year since a mass shooting at Boom Island Park, the second of 3 men charged in connection to it has pleaded guilty. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office announced that Zaire Porter has pleaded guilty to 1 count of aiding abetting second-degree intentional murder and 2 counts of aiding abetting a drive-by shooting with a prison sentence of 30 years. That comes just weeks after another man, Marquez DeMar Hill Turnipseed, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. 23-year-old Sajina Whiting was killed during that mass shooting as her sister tried to drive out of the park.
More akin to a war zone, the amount of shell casings that the officers are recovering here.
Former Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara described the shooting last summer. Court documents say officers found approximately 130 discarded casings during their investigation.
I don't know what can motivate people to come armed to a gathering like this in the way that they did.
Since then, several changes have been made to Boom Island Park, including closed parking lots starting at 9 p.m. and increased patrols from park police.
So we're very conscious that this is a seasonal effect, just like good people like to go out in the warm weather. So do people with ill intent.
Minneapolis City Council member Michael Rainville's ward includes Boom Island Park and says some of those steps have helped prevent further problems.
And that's proved successful. Since then, there hasn't been another gunfight there.
Right now, a popular Plymouth beach is closed until further notice. The East Medicine Lake Beach is shut down due to high levels of E. coli found in the water. Health officials say it's likely a result of runoff from large rainfall combined with warmer temperatures, which allows more bacteria to grow. Officials say people and pets should stay out of the water. A new report this afternoon shows that 172,000 jobs were added in the month of May. That's more than expected, but lower than the 179,000 in April. It is, however, a sign that the labor market remained resilient in the face of growing energy and inflation crises. About 40% of the jobs came from the leisure and hospitality sector, roughly 4 out of every 10. The average hourly earnings also rose by 0.3% for the month. Meanwhile, unemployment remains steady at 4.3%. New this afternoon, the AI company Anthropic says the industry should slow its development of the artificial intelligence for the good of humanity. The company's co-founder says other companies should collaborate to create an AI break button. Anthropic says the technology could soon develop itself without people programming it, and it warns that humans could then lose control of what happens next. A popular exhibit is returning to the Como Zoo, and you may have the opportunity to experience one of nature's most unusual botanical events. Just hours ago, we learned the beloved Horace the corpse flower has spent the last 2 years growing and is expected to bloom in the next few days. That plant is native to Indonesian rainforests and is best known for its odor during bloom, which has been compared to rotting meat. To see it, the zoo recommends entering through the gates near the Japanese garden. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.